Hi, I'm TS, and this is the continuing saga of the Dodge Caliburger. This second video shows us examining the damage to that subframe, and frankly, I'm so glad it happened when it happened, because if it hadn't, I would have been driving 2 weeks later. I could have been on a highway or on the way to work or anywhere, and it would have been a mess. And so, and also I'd like to say, Chad test drove it that day, and I'm so glad it happened when I was driving, because I never would have blamed him, but I think he would have blamed himself if it would have happened while he was driving. So this is the second of 3 videos that shows us examining the extent of the rust on that subframe and how bad it actually was. And it also shows us refilling the transmission fluid and all that after he had got it all back together, because when the wheel fell out, it had pulled out of the transmission and I lost all my transmission fluid. So it also shows that door buckling where the wheel hitting it when we crashed it. So
so what we got is the subframe. Of course, you can see where it's all rotted out.
Yeah, lay it down on the ground. Yeah, sweep again.
That's okay.
All right.
So of course we got motor mount bolts, rack and pinion bolts, tensioner or sway bar bolts. One busted. Another one busted here.
When you were taking it out?
When I was taking it out.
I got you.
Taking it out. See, they're busted. So I had to.
Knuckle busters.
Of course, they give you a set. They give you sets of bolts. Of course, this is. We got subframe bolts.
I got you. Yeah.
Those new ones. This is your ball joint. Your ball joint bolts. This was a motor mount tranny bolt, and these were rack and pinion bolts.
And these are all the old stuff?
These are all old. These are all old.
See, that's crazy how
not used.
It's crazy how some of those didn't rust at all. Like,
yeah, these are all old. They're galvanized. See, they're galvanized kind of material.
See,
none of these used.
Look at galvanized the whole damn thing. Jesus.
Yeah, I know. Even that part.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
If this was galvanized, then it wouldn't be that bad.
Right.
But they're probably all still made in China for our Americans.
Look at that.
This is where it was holding on to the frame.
That's the only thing.
This is where you're.
That's the only thing that was holding everything on. Right?
This is what broke when your wheel went that way. And if you look when they design it, they actually have a tube going through the whole body and welded around here to make that side a little stronger. So. Jeez.
Look at that.
So when we start looking, when I started looking at the front end, so take your. Look at your tires where they're wore out, especially the driver's side. That was the side that was rotted the worst.
Right.
So, but if
and that's
you look
what was
now,
making.
Look how straight it is now.
Yeah, that's what was making that. That's what was making that tire be all cockeyed like that.
So you can tell it's straight. I mean, if you put a.
Oh yeah.
If you put a light.
I can tell the difference the way it looked.
You might be able to see some of that, but it's really back under there quite far. See the new subframe?
Oh yeah.
See the black, the shiny black?
Yeah.
So that was all that replaced. All the shiny black. So of course you're gonna need some tires pretty soon.
Yeah.
And alignment. Because I'm not for sure now. You know, maybe when she went to have it aligned and check her tires out, they told her this was rocky.
Right.
And she, you know how people are, they want to unload their stuff pretty quick. So of course,
and if that's that bad, if that was that bad, alignment wouldn't even hold on it, would it?
No,
because it's just. They probably said we can't even do an alignment on it. Yeah.
So look how you do this. You do this until you do this tool until it bottoms out. And there is a little bit on it. See it?
Okay. Yeah.
So we bottomed out. So, but you just want to make sure that you're bottoming out every time. Of course, it's not a dipstick. See, it's just a measuring tool.
Right.
A lot of with the threadings that's in here, when you get your bolt kits, of course these bolts don't always the threading's a little different in each set of bolts. You see how fine these are versus some of the other ones. So you had to line them up. You had to line them up, and I greased all of them first.
Make sure that it all smooths, because like you said, it's so tight down there that
to put it back together, you wouldn't want something to be tight.
You don't want to be struggling, right?
When it broke, the CV axle fell out.
Yeah, and that's why we're doing the transmission.
That's why we're getting the fluid back to proper fluid height.
The bolts. That guy saying that you want to take them off by the nut, not the bolt, but then you said some of them were the other way around, like. The stuff was in, the bolt is in, or the nut is inside.
The nut's inside. So inside this.
So you can't even do it that way if you wanted to on some of them.
All this metal casing, you can't even get to that. So if you look at the back side, there's only you have to spray WD-40 up in here even to get that loosened up.
Jeez.
So I whipped up some parts cleaner and sprayed. So see, like, if you can see where this rusted, of course you're not going to see this in your new subframe. So that's actually the nut. So you couldn't get to that if you wanted to. If they break, you're screwed. So like, here's one that's busted. This one here. You couldn't get to the backside if you wanted to.
Right.
I mean, just barely. If that wasn't so rusted, you couldn't even see it. The new one, you couldn't even see any of that. You couldn't even see this structure in here.
So the bolt on the new one, the bolt is actually made to it. It's welded to it.
Yeah, it's spot welded.
Spot welded to the inside. So
before they even mold the whole thing together.
So then when you put the nut or the bolt on, it just screws down into the nut that's like
that's
stuck
already
to
there.
That's
so you got to make sure your new bolts, when you go to put that
screw through that
work in there
nut.
before.
Right.
I had to get a couple of different ones for here that were and I had to find a couple of different bolts even for your tensioner bar in there. Of course, if you look how this is made over here, see this where it's kind of beveled out here?
Concave, yeah.
Because that's the steering box on the rack and pinion is right here.
Oh, I got
so
you.
it's real tight. You can't even barely. I was under the car to tighten some of these up, and you can barely get a wrench in these spots when you're tightening these ones up. It basically took me all night long to get these tightened. Even after it was up in the car, it took me all night long to tighten these all. So it was pretty.
So we basically had the first day that you took it out. You probably got it out. I'd say maybe 3 hours, 4 hours to.
Probably 4 to get it out, and then when I got it out, then when we got the part here, you take your lower control arms off from here, and here you take your lower control arms off. And of course, all the bushings were good in these.
Oh, good.
These bushings were nice. The ball joints were decent.
Sure.
But these bushings were all intact, weren't dry rotted or anything. They were all good, the bushings. Of course, I'm sure that the pro mechanics, they're going to charge you for this when you take it in the shop.
Oh yeah, of course. Oh, even if it was still good, yeah, they're going to put it all new.
They're going to want all new.
Right.
There's some shops that come in and they when they put even a belt on a car, they want to put new tensioner and pulleys.
Oh, of course. Of course. And then
don't fix it till it's broke.
And then you said you got it in last night, and you worked on it for 12 hours, 10, 11, 12 hours?
10, 11 hours yesterday.
Oh, just getting it in there.
That's the bad part when it...
Oh, yeah, talk about that. Let's talk about that.
So
when the wheel fell off at the intersection, it rolled backwards. I thought that it was just because the front end crushed down. But you said you think it was because that wheel came flying back.
You see where it pushed right here. See it?
Yeah.
You got lights on that?
Yeah.
You can see where the wheel pushed up against this and pushed this out. See
yeah.
I mean, I don't know what we can...
I don't know how we're going to be able to get that to go back, yeah.
We could try
and then,
to,
of course, I tried to open. I tried to open the door, and it
made it worse.
And made it worse. I should have went in.
So see where it's catching now. If we can get that from catching, then we won't do any more damage to this. Since this is already bent, it's probably best not to bend any of that back unless you get. I don't know. I was thinking maybe if you could hit to a plastic. If you had some kind of plastic tool where you could bend that back out without scratching it.
Yeah, you know.
Let's see if we can get it.
Like we were saying, I mean, that could have been a whole lot worse. We could have been on the highway and flipped the whole car over with that wheel rolling up underneath of us. So
and we were thinking about it.
Luckily, it stopped where it did. I don't know if we can. Yeah, let me see. Let me think.
That's something to kind of. Where's it catching? Right here? Yeah, let's see if we can. Every time, see? So let's see if we can.
Can you maybe wrap some cloth around that tool or something so it doesn't?
Let's see if it doesn't.
Oh, that was better. It doesn't pop now, at least.
A bit better. It pop.
It's gonna come back, isn't it?
See it's popping. I wonder if this could be moved right down here, this whole section.
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's somewhere we can.
Where are you at, Tom?
I'm right here.
Feels like a Jeep.
Said you want it to warm up to the right temperature, but then you want to run it through all of the gears.
So I'm kind of moving it. I'm going to move it in and out of the driveway, and I'm going to come back in and level it back up.
Level it so we. So
we're going to make sure the temperature's right, and we're going through all the gears. Get your fluid nice and hot because it's got to go into the torque converter. I'm sure it's got something like a torque converter in there that has a lot of fluid in there, pushing fluid through valves and stuff to make the pressure plates and stuff work. In an automatic transmission, it's different.
Okay. All right, let's
go through these.
Let's see what this looks like.
Let's go through the gears a little bit, and then I'll go in the. I'll go down the driveway and then I'll come back. That's a lock. There's a locking gear. There's a locking mechanism. Sometimes your vehicle will go click.
Yeah.
All the Jeep does the same thing as 2017. It'll go click and it's real loud.
Do that again.
Yeah, watch. Ready? It's when you go into park from drive. Yeah, watch. Ready? I'm going to go into park. Sometimes you'll hear it. Let me try that. Hear it?
Yeah, let's just talk.
Other fluids will damage. Blah blah blah. This is your. This is where you stick and test it at all.
Okay.
So. Use only Chrysler CVT. So see, there's your. Is that the millimeters? I don't know how that chart works. We'll have to read about it. Chrysler CVT is 200 degrees of roughly. That's Fahrenheit. Yep. And we want it at 44 millimeters. So 44 millimeters on a stick. So we just learned it all. Alright. So we're going to be right here is where we want it. Right in the middle.
Right.
A little notch. So 44 millimeters at normal operating temperature. Bottom the stick out into the tube and then pull it out, see where you're set. See how it's went down a little bit? That's because the chambers are filling up.
Spreading out. Yeah,
so
it's all spreading out. Okay, but
look at that.
Let's see if I can get it some light.
See the golden look?
Yeah.
It's more. It looks like motor oil.
More like oil. Yeah.
So I bet you it lost more than a quart when that
Yeah,
that axle came out, I would think.
Yeah,
So I'm
did
gonna
you
add-
say you stained it all the way?
add the
We only
front
had to
one.
go like a block and a half. And you said it was still dripping when you got up here onto the driveway.
You're probably stained a block distance. So I'm gonna add a full coat, forget it.
Sure, yeah.
Let's see if it... Well, we're at 20. We need to go to 40. So let's see what this...
Okay, yeah.
Let's put half a quart and we'll run through the gears and we'll put half a quart.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we're getting there. We're at 30.
Okay.
Check it out. See
Okay,
it?
so it might just work out just perfect. 2 was
We're at
almost
30.
perfect.
We're at 30. It's working out good. That's why I asked him and
you
lost
need
it too.
your whole
Yeah.
system here. Oh, but that's how some things
My
go.
brain does do that.
Right,
I
right.
can make more work out of something that could be simpler, because now sometimes you become more lax, and that's how you start working sometimes. But you're being more thorough. If
You see it
notice,
more. It's
When you work more patiently, you're being more thorough about things. I believe. You know what I mean?
Right.
I am anyway.
Well, it's
Don't-
the
don't
difference.
rush it.
It's the difference between one philosopher, Alan Watts, said. So you have 2 different sides.
Here we go.
One is
Oh, we gotta go through the gears.
the spotlight, and one is the floodlight.
Okay.
And you got to learn how to see the world through the spotlight, focus but you also need to learn how to see the world in the floodlight, where you see the big picture and you can how everything fits together, and it's more universal, you know.
We're at 35.
See, it's just gonna take that whole thing. We might as well just put the rest of it in there.
Yeah, it's gonna take the whole thing.
Put the last of it in there. And that's just gonna have to. You know,
we're right close to
what
it.
I'd probably like
We're
to
close
do
that mark.
is maybe come back up next weekend. We'll check all that again, make sure it stays at level, and
definitely.
we'll see.
Let's get a fresh towel. Yeah, we'll check everything back out.
It was all the way under,
Yeah, we can see where it's dripping on that.
literally the spot. And I don't know if any of those other mechanics have
Pointed that out.
or found that realized that.
Yeah.
The one that I was impressed with was when he said that, it's because they're tubes. They're solid tubes, and when that water gets in, it just doesn't get back out. And I'm like, that's a good explanation. But,
Around where it's welded.
But I think
You can
literally
see it on
that
there.
just sets,
Yeah.
it's like if you set a piece of paper in just a corner in a puddle of water, and you come back the next day, that whole piece of paper is going to be wet.
Yeah.
So with that dripping on that frame, constantly, it just literally soaked that one piece.
Yeah.
It soaks that one piece.
Yeah. That's
And
right. It soaks in.
I think that's the fucking ultimate culprit. It's got to be.
It's almost
That's
like
ridiculous.
you know they've studied this shit, and they almost
How much engineering goes into these fucking things, and
they don't over engineer shit really anymore. I don't think.
Yeah.
They over computerize stuff, but they don't.
Right.
They don't over engineer it. They've never really changed much of the design of a car frame and carriage really over the years.
Right.
That's what people have said. They said, when are they going to change the suspension?
Why would they?